In today's meditation, we are reflecting on the virtue of perseverance. And St. Ignatius instructs us that we have to persevere in our good intentions, and especially when it comes to prayer. And even when we're distracted in prayer, we find little fruit in our prayer, little discernible fruit, that is, that we have to persevere in our initial intentions. He says that we should always be sure to stay with the complete prayer that we had planned. When we make time to spend time with God, it is important that we carry through with that and not allow ourselves to be distracted by other things, or to pull away from it, or to complete email instead. But he said, if anything, if there's any divergence of what we originally planned, it should be a little bit more, not a little bit less. Obviously, God is the ultimate love relationship we have in our lives, and it is important that we make time for Him. In simple terms, you could say that quality time is God's love language. In other words, He needs quality time with us. And St. Ignatius says, even when we're tempted, we should be sure to do more rather than less as far as time in prayer. He says in time of consolation, when we're feeling close to the Lord, it's easy and scarcely taxing to remain in contemplation for a full hour. Indeed it is. When you're receiving a lot of sensible graces from the Lord, it's a wonderful experience. Many of us don't receive that often, but when we do, it's a great experience, and the hour can pass by. We can wonder what happened with the time. It's easy to remain in that contemplation, or whatever kind of prayer we're doing, for whatever time we set. Maybe we don't have a full hour, but even 10 minutes that we are going to drop by and see the Lord in the Blessed Eucharist. And then it's easy those 10 minutes fly by for us. But during desolation, it is very hard to fill out the time. Indeed it is. When we feel distant from the Lord, even if we're not distant, but we feel that we are, we can't sense we don't have any sensible consolation that we enjoy. It's hard to fill out the time, he says. It's hard to be faithful to the time that we originally proposed. Hence, what are we to do? He says to act against the desolation and to overcome the temptations, because here you have the evil spirit trying to work here too, to pull us away from prayer and to get us to give up or to leave and to go do other things we might find more rewarding, or other tasks on our to-do list. To overcome the temptation, the spiritual person ought to remain a little longer than the original time planned. So if one were to plan, say, a full hour, if one were on retreat, one should spend just a little bit more than an hour to overcome that temptation to shorten it. There's always a temptation to shorten prayer. Not always, but there's often a temptation to shorten prayer because we're not finding what we were hoping for. We were expecting the Lord to be more responsive in this way or that. And sometimes we can be, frankly, controlling, and we don't make ourselves present enough to the Lord. I believe that in adoration, for instance, we ought to consider how much it's not just us adoring Jesus, but it's Jesus looking at us. And maybe what we need most is to experience that being a beloved daughter or son of God, and letting Him gaze on us, even when I am tired, exhausted, I don't have a lot in me, don't have a lot of beautiful thoughts, maybe frustrated from the day, or I'm just exhausted perhaps. To let the Lord love on me, to let the Lord love me through His gaze. Maybe that's what I need most. But to be faithful to that, even when I'm not feeling things. It's really important that we're faithful to our beloved Lord, and we give Him quality time in our day. And I assure you, when you do that, when you leave that prayer, you're faithful to what you originally planned to do. When you're faithful to that, and perhaps you had to shut off your phone to do so, to not be available to everyone else trying to reach you, which is oftentimes a good idea for us. We have a false notion of being always available to all people at all times. That's very unfortunate. It's a modern age issue that I think it needs to be evaluated if it's not undue demands upon us. But I'm faithful in that prayer, and I give the Lord the original time planned, and perhaps even a little bit more. So if I struggle and I'm starting to feel distracted or tempted to leave, or I forgot about this, forgot about that, give the Lord a little bit extra, give Him a couple extra minutes. And what you will do by doing so is overcome that temptation, the temptation of the evil one, to shorten it, to have less time with the Lord. And as you do that, that itself will be an act of love, and the Lord will most definitely requite your act of love. The Lord can never be outdone in generosity. God bless you.